Okay, well, welcome to Learning Together. This, of course, is a series of interviews that we do with some of our teaching and support staff, and we like to shine a spotlight on those people who are going out of their way and doing some very innovative and creative things to help support our students and their families while schools remain closed due to, of course, to the COVID-19 pandemic. Joining us on the line today, we've got some very important people from the St. Teresa of Calcutta Catholic Elementary School community. Just want to start with our principal there. We've got Mrs. Dorian. Hello, Mrs. Dorian. We've also got Lynn Segan, who is the LSST at St. Teresa of Calcutta. Hello, Lynn.
Hi.
And we've got Laura Plant, who is a grade 2 teacher at St. Teresa of Calcutta. Hello, Laura.
Hello.
And this is a bit of a first for our Learning Together series. We've also got a family from St. Teresa of Calcutta. We have Cheyenne Malbrank, and we've also got Jordan Coulter and their son, James. Hello, everybody. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for being here with us today. So I just want to start with the family, with Jordan and Cheyenne and James. Maybe, I don't know if Jordan or Cheyenne wants to start, but can you try to tell me just a little bit about, what kind of learner James is? How is he doing in school before all of this started?
I'd say before he was a little behind, but as we're going through the online learning, we had a bunch of support from Ms. Segan and Ms. Plant to catch him up throughout the experience.
Mm-hmm. And how about you, James? How do you feel that you've been doing? When I was talking with Mrs. Plant, the term that she used, she said when it came to online learning, you were crushing it.
How do you feel like you're doing?
Good.
Yeah, he's a little bit shy. Yeah. Jordan, thoughts? How do you think the whole experience has been for James?
I think it's working out for him good.
Mm-hmm.
He's catching up, so that's good. It's good to see.
Yeah. And what's your favorite subject, James?
What's your favorite thing to do online? Read.
Likes to read. So I'd like to turn it over to Mrs. Plant. So, this is obviously new territory for a lot of people in terms of doing online learning. Of course, we're all sort of thrust into this journey together, trying to sort out how we were going to deliver curriculum and coming up with a plan in order to make it real. How has the experience been for you with your students and students like James?
It's been okay, right? It's a journey for everyone, and really it's still part of an emergency response. So there's a lot to get used to, and it's a bit of a fast learning curve. But we were blessed with the opportunity to use technology consistently in the classroom, and that really, really set everyone up for success, from the students to the staff to the communities. And I know, James, buddy, you're doing such a great job, and I'm so proud of how hard you've been working. So proud. This family from the beginning has been so proactive in their approach to this situation. They've set him up for such growth and opportunity for success. They were one of the first to reach out for technology from the school, so that transition was awesome, and they were ready to go as soon as we were. So we've had to learn together, and I want to say thank you too for the communication that you've been participating in or giving me. Cheyenne on several occasions has let me know if link was missing or if something wasn't working, and really it's valuable because it's very new for everyone, including the teachers, and it's nice to be able to make mistakes and still have things moving forward and smoothly.
So, Laura, I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about some of the tools that you've been using. Was there a bit of a learning curve for yourself, or were you already sort of immersed in using technology?
I don't know that I'd say immersed, but I was given some PD. And Seesaw, that's the platform of choice for myself. I was given some PD a few years ago, and I've had the opportunity, because of the available technology, to use that. But I would say prior to this, sparingly or, inconsistently, but this opportunity, obviously, I have to use it very consistently. And it's the Seesaw platform, I feel, is very great for what my students need and what I need at this time as far as planning activities that are meaningful.
And there's some other tools that you use. Can you refer to any specific types of technology that you're using to reach your students?
I use Seesaw primarily. In there, I'll insert some content, appropriate content from YouTube or from Loom. I'll make recordings of read alouds or books or lessons, some Google Slides. But really, Seesaw allows me to do pretty much everything I need to do within that platform.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of challenges have you faced? Are there? I would imagine, every learner is different, and you've probably sort of had to adapt some of your pedagogical styles in terms of addressing those sort of individual character traits of each one of your students. Have you had that? Has it been a challenge for you? And if so, how did you address that?
Sure, that's really, I think, the challenge teachers face in the classroom every day.
Mm-hmm.
So similar to keeping engagement going and connecting those who may not be fully engaged or making attempts to connect in different ways. The beautiful thing with this Seesaw platform is I will set the activities in the morning, and then they'll have an opportunity to access those activities when it's convenient and appropriate for their families. So students can link in when they're ready to link in, and they can engage for that period of time in their day when they know as a family it works for them. And I think it allows them to set that routine, which is wonderful. And that's, I feel, why James has been so successful. He's been able to work on his terms, when he wants, when he's ready, and when he's engaged. It's great.
Yeah, that's very important. So I'd like to bring Lynn into the conversation here. So Lynn, you're an LSST. For people who might not be familiar with that or are watching this, can you explain, first of all, what does LSST stand for? And in that role, what sorts of things do you do?
All right. So I'm a learning support services teacher, and I go into the classrooms and I provide PALS instruction or support for classrooms that are currently on my caseload. I am not the PALS provider for Mrs. Plant's classroom, but I am the LSST that supports in her room. So I do have access to the PALS scores for the classes on a spreadsheet. So I do have access to her class and how well they're doing. Based on that, we built supports in terms of guided reading. Throughout the school year, I was doing some guided reading in Mrs. Plant's classroom.
Okay.
Because we've now gone on to some online learning, the guided reading still kind of continued, for myself, it was more of a one-on-one guided reading group. I'm just learning and exploring a little bit of the technologies that are out there. So for me, this was a huge learning curve. I'm also on several platforms, so I had to learn not only Seesaw, but Google Classroom and how to do Google Meets. And so there was a lot to take in. But James and I were doing small group, a one-on-one guided reading session twice a week. So I was supporting him in terms of his literacy, in terms of fluency, in terms of working on some of the skills that we were still doing in PALS, like retell, talking about characters, what types of genre he's reading, those kinds of things. It has now transpired into him being involved with Lexia Core 5 because we are piloting this program through the board. James was selected as one of our potential candidates at our school, and I can tell you that he is doing phenomenal. He's really trying his best. I can tell because I've been going on and monitoring his progress. He's just started this week, and already he has gained 8 units in terms of his progress, and he's working through those activities.
Wow, that's
so
great.
I feel that this program is going to be so beneficial for him and to close those gaps in his learning, because Lexia targets those skills where students are having deficits.
So we've been hearing a bit about Lexia. Obviously, it's as you mentioned, it's a new pilot project. Can you describe for us just a little bit about what that is?
Well, it's a program where the students would go through. It's for right now. Core 5 is a K-5 program. There is a power up from grade 6 to 12. So James is involved in the Core 5 program, and what happens is initially he's put into a auto placement. So when they first log into the system, the computer generates an assessment piece for him that he'll work through a series of activities where the computer will find out where his reading level is at. Then based on that, the next time he logs in, he's working at his level. So it's tailored to where his gaps are in his learning.
Wow, we've come so far when it comes to technology, haven't we? To be able to do something like that, to have that assessment tool, that's amazing.
Yeah. But what's also nice about this assessment piece is that it's a blended learning platform. So this computer program is student driven at the start. He'll work through a series of activities, but I monitor his progress, and when I find that he's struggling in some areas, I can jump in and do a Google Meet to explicitly teach those skills that he's lacking so that he can go back and work on his own. So it's nice in the fact that he's working independently at his own level, but there's still teacher involvement where the teacher does assist when the student is having a lot of difficulties with areas.
So a question then for Cheyenne and Jordan, you know, in your experience with these tools that are happening between Mrs. Segan and Mrs. Plant, you know, how much involvement has there been on your part? How much have you had to be involved over and above what they're doing to support James?
We help him through some of the things, but he's mostly okay doing all of the seesaw stuff by himself. He's worked through the seesaw, he understands the program now, he's clicking the buttons by himself, and I'm like, you know how to do that already? I didn't teach you that one, but okay, go for it. So he's working through it, he's getting there.
Yeah, and what have you seen just in terms of his reading and his comprehension?
His reading has like skyrocketed. He used to not read anything, but we just went for a walk by the river. He's reading all the signs to me, and I'm like, dude, look at you. So he's reading everything now, and he used to not read us, never.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I'd like to bring Mrs. Dorian into the conversation. So just in terms of, can you comment on what you've seen? How much involvement have you had with James and with your staff on this particular case?
First of all, I just want to start off by saying how proud I am of you, James. I have the opportunity to sort of do a walkthrough in a virtual sense in everybody's classroom on a daily basis. So whether it's on Seesaw or Google Classroom, Mr. Flanagan and myself are continuing to go in and see all the hard work that's happening. And just, I feel very proud as a school administrator to see the sense of team that we have happening with our classroom teachers, with our LSST, with our families, with our EAs. We're all in this together, and we've really been able to have a good sense of community and a positive attitude throughout all of this, and celebrate the hard work that our students, our staff, and our parents are accomplishing, you know, based on the setting that we're placed in at this time. So it is nice to be able to go in. We can comment on students' work. We can even send voice recordings. We can send a video. So we're trying to be as involved as we can from an administrative level. You know, we just have to do things a little bit differently right now. So instead of popping into classrooms and seeing people in the physical sense, we are popping into our virtual classrooms on a regular basis. And really, we're able to see all the hard work that's happening and the improvement. The beauty of this too is when we do go back to the school, I think that our teachers are definitely going to have a different practice. So that's the silver lining in all of this. So something to celebrate.
And can you tell me, Mrs. Dorian, what sorts of levels of engagement have you been seeing in your school community?
We've had a lot of engagement from our parents. We are also putting a lot of our good work out on our social media platforms, our Instagram, our Facebook, our Twitter. We're not only trying to engage from an academic standpoint, but we're trying to incorporate a little bit of some virtual extracurricular, really building that community, not only with the academics, but just trying to keep everybody's spirits up.
Well, you're doing a great job, evidently. You can see that in the enthusiasm here. So, you know, I guess we're all just looking forward to that time when we can get through this, and hopefully, you know, before too long, our schools will be open again. We'll be able to get back to the in-classroom learning. James, do you miss your friends at school? Yeah, I bet you do. Yeah. Have you been able to get out and play and get some fresh air and that kind of thing? Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, well, listen, folks, you know, this has been really an incredible conversation. I'm glad to see that everybody's doing so well, that we're keeping up in our learning, and that things like this one are staying on top of their material and staying engaged with their studies. You guys are doing a great job. So keep up the terrific work.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I could add, James and Cheyenne and Gordon, I just want to thank you so much for your participation. What we do can't work if we don't have engagement from home. And that's what makes us really proud. We can't praise the person, but we certainly have to praise. And James, I can't believe how hard you're working and how awesome your work is, and how every day when I take a look at Seesaw, I know I'm going to find your assignments done. And I know you're working hard, and Mrs. S and Miss LaPera and Mrs. Youssef have all commented or texted me at some point in time telling me about how hard you're working and how proud they are of you. So I want you to know that everyone who comes into 2P, just like at school, are still talking about how hard you're working and what a great job you're doing. So thanks, buddy. You really are crushing it.
I don't think he realizes how hard he is working. A lot of it's just fun for him at this point. Yeah.
That's the balance, right?
Yeah.
For sure. All right. Well, once again, thank you so much, everybody, for being here today, and keep up the great work. And hopefully we'll be back at it before too long.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye, James.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.